Okay, and it looks like it is going. So, welcome to Thursday Night Rush. I'm going to hand it over to our lovely teacher. Please hold your questions until there is a break. There will be two breaks in the middle of the class and towards the end. Otherwise, feel free to drop your questions in the chat box. And I'm handing it over.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Inez Errotabehere, and I am from the Shire of Lossmore here in Callantyre. Today, I am going to be teaching a class of relaxation techniques and breathing exercises for the nervous performer. I myself have experienced having nerves before presenting and performing in front of people, and I know a lot of my friends who have totally lost their cool in front of audiences, both large and small. So I thought that I would put the class together real quick to kind of um, give people like some pointers and some techniques and things that I found out that have worked for me, that have helped me become a more easy performer, somebody who's like a little bit less freaked out about it. So there are two stages to this class. I'm going to kind of cover the mental aspect of being nervous in front of people. And then we're going to go through a couple of like actual physical breathing exercises that we're going to do hands-on towards the end of the class. As far as the mental aspect of it, a lot of it when we get super nervous in front of people, a lot of it's in our head. Just because it's in our head doesn't mean that what we experience isn't real. All of the crippling anxiety that we feel before presenting and performing in front of people is 100% real, even if it's all inside of our head. The most effective way that I have found to sort of combat those mental struggles of performing is just preparedness. And that sounds like common sense, but I mean genuinely that. That's the most relaxed that I have ever been doing presentations in front of people is when I've done the work to make sure that I am as confident as possible going into the material that I'm presenting. But just make sure you practice is pretty basic and kind of unhelpful advice. So let me be a little bit more specific. So one of the biggest things that I find that I have needed validation for and that other people kind of need validation for is that this is material that you are comfortable with almost always. If you care about something enough to present it in front of people or to perform it, um, this is something that you are already familiar with, usually. Um, the other thing is that, especially in like an arts and sciences competition sort of environment, you are there to share the thing, and the people who come to hear you share that thing want to hear it shared. So your judges are there because they want to hear it shared. Anybody who approaches your table is there because they want to hear it shared. You're not very often going to find somebody who comes to a bardic performance or sits at your table who doesn't want to hear what you have to say. The other thing is um, if you spend my script. Spend time practicing what you have to perform and have the focus be on what you can add to make it feel more informative or interesting. And then that also helps you think of things to add to your script. Also, don't be afraid to use a script. I have a script right here. Look at all of the writing that's on this script. There's 4 pages here. Um, it is okay to use a script. Scripts are great. I love them. They help you get your thoughts out in an intelligent manner. They help you make sure that you don't miss anything while you're trying to get that information out to somebody. Um, and they help you, say exactly what you want, exactly when you want to say it. The other thing is choosing material you're comfortable with. If you're doing a presentation, material you're comfortable like talking to people about. And that can be something that you run with for people that you already know really well, already trust. You can kind of practice and try out your presentations and your performances on people that you already know and trust and work your way up from there. The other thing, and this goes specifically for bardic performances, I personally am in the camp of if you are performing the song, you get to choose whatever key you want. And anybody who tells you that you can't choose that key, um, tell them to go kick rocks, basically. Be nice and respectful about it. But if you are the performer, you get to choose whatever key complements your vocal register. The other thing is, uh, so as far as working on bardic stuff, bardic circles are a great place to start to get feedback on a song. They're a great place to get used to singing songs in front of people. I've heard some horror stories, but I have heard more good stories about people getting helpful feedback from bardic circles than I have heard horror stories. So get to the bardic circle and be validated. The other thing is for presentation practice, while you're thinking about what you want to say for your presentation, kind of ask yourself questions you think are difficult and answer them to yourself. When I have a presentation coming up, I have a little inner dialogue inside my brain running constantly while I'm practicing, where I'm like, okay, well, what if somebody asks a question about this? And I'm like, okay, well, I'll respond in this way. So have conversations with yourself in your head. It's helped me a lot in the past. Rehearse, as I said earlier, rehearse first by yourself. Try your presentations out on your friends and your family. They love you. They want you to be better. They want to help you get better. This will also help you figure out questions that you may not have thought about that you would think might be asked. So someone who's not you is probably thinking of something completely different while you're doing the presentation. And that can help prepare you for getting questions that you are not ready to answer and help you kind of think about how you're either going to phrase it correctly so you get your point across, or help you figure out like, oh, well, maybe I should figure out what the answer is to that so that way I can be prepared for it when the time comes to present it. It can also help you realize, like, give you cues about when somebody's questions have nothing to do with what you're presenting. Uh, and it can help you realize, like, if somebody's criticism has gone too far or doesn't really apply to what you're trying, the point that you're trying to get across. And if people are consistently not getting the point that you're trying to get across, it can help you before you ever present kind of reframe the way that you're talking about things so that you do carry it over to them. um, that will help you also, handle friendly criticism. That is a big problem that people have sometimes, where it's like, oh, well, what if they don't like it? What if they criticize me too much? It will kind of help desensitize you a little bit to being questioned and being challenged. Your When you're practicing on people, your friends and your family, they want you to get better. Your judges,
Yes.
again, I've heard horror stories, but your judges are not there to berate you. They are there to help you get better, and they are there to challenge you in a respectful way. So everybody is friends here for the most part. So, you know, again, a little bit a little bit basic and unhelpful, but like there's no reason to be scared. Everybody wants each other to get better. The last thing that I would say is it's also not your problem if somebody just refuses to be kind and respectful towards you. It can feel really bad in the moment, and it can hurt you a lot. But it's also not your problem the way that they feel about the thing that you presented. And if you are hurt by their words, um, go to somebody that you trust afterwards. And I have found, like, in times where I feel a little bit too put through the ringer, just go to somebody that you trust and vent about it. And as soon as I vented about it, as soon as it's out there, I feel a lot better. That is about all that I have to say about the mental aspect. But before we move into the actual breathing exercises and techniques, I would love to hear if anybody has any questions or if anybody has anything to add. If there is a method that you feel has helped you that I have not previously mentioned, I would love to hear about it because we're all here for the same reason and it would be helpful. Anybody? Anyone?
Can anybody hear me? Y'all can hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sheila, we can hear you. Do you have something to
Okay,
add?
okay, okay. Well, I heartily agree because I certainly learned that at the Kingdom Arts and Sciences event that I was at here in Lost Your your judges are really rooting for you. They want you to do well. They want to see good things and they will be incredibly supportive. So yeah, and it can be difficult to handle a heckler, you know. On the other hand, oftentimes the hecklers are like, yay, and they're just loud, you know. But it's it's difficult to get up in front of people and perform. And I think we all seem to really respect the fact that people have the guts to do that. And generally, SCA people are pretty awesome about that, you know.
Mhm.
So I I I understand what you're saying. I think what you're saying is wonderful.
Yeah. Well,
And
and
I think we need to keep on encouraging people.
yeah. Well, and after up to a certain point, you can prepare and you can figure out what you're going to say ahead of time and decide what you're going to do all you want. Something unexpected may happen. And that is outside of your control. The other thing is that up to a certain point, you can do all of these things, but it may not ever get better until you just keep doing it. Um, Continuing to expose yourself to that thing that scares you can help kind of desensitize you to doing that. My husband's raising his hand because he never was okay with bardic performance until he started doing it. Okay, I'm being asked to share my story of my first bardic experience. So I was afraid to sing in front of people for years. I never sang in front of people. I only sang in front of like my family and my husband. And if I were to sing in front of people, I would do it like silly and badly on purpose because I didn't want anybody to actually hear what my voice sounds like. I am also missing about 15 to 20% of my hearing in both ears. And so I didn't want to, I didn't want people to think that I'm like hitting the notes wrong or that I don't sound good or like sometimes I worry like can I hear myself the correct way? Do I sound to myself the way that I sound like to everybody else? And finally I had gotten I had gotten enough courage to share a song at the Bardic Circle and people were nothing but kind and supportive and respectful. And it really changed the way that I look at performing in Bardic for the rest of my life. So that's why I'm saying go to the Bardic Circle and get yourself validated. So, is there anybody else that has something to add? Okay, Christelia. Okay, I see you.
I don't get to go to a whole lot of Bardics when I'm at events because I can't walk very easily to them and they
Mhm.
tend to be far away. But
And in the dark.
and in the dark, yeah, on the uneven ground. But in May I got to do my first actual in-person Bardic um experience. And I went to the class. Drew Thomas had done a class during the day. And then the evening part was he had pre-scheduled camps that were or pre that wanted Bardic and were okay with new bards. Him bringing the baby bards to all the different camps for a fire crawl. And he pre-screened, the camps. But it started at his camp, and I was able to get to his camp. And that was my first Bardic in person. And I can do the Bardic online, and I don't really have an issue with that. But being in person definitely made me a little more nervous. I got through it okay, but my friend, and it was her first solo performance, she had what you had said earlier, where she just absolutely panicked and ran away. But she did come back, and she performed a different piece. She plays a recorder. And when she had done the initial one, she just absolutely had a horrible panic attack and couldn't do it. And Thomas took her away and talked to her, and we did the rest. And then she came back and she performed, and I went last. I was like, oh, I have to be last. And I went after her, so I totally changed the mood of it. But she did fantastic, and I was really proud of her for actually coming back and doing it. And everybody was very supportive, um, at that. So that was my first Bardic in person. And then 2 weeks ago now, I guess I was at Great Western where we had a Bardic class with a mini Bardic circle that I got to go to. And it was just a few people, so it wasn't at night with a camp, and that one was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so smaller, from my experience, smaller Bardic circles and online Bardic circles are a really great way to ease yourself into doing it, because smaller Bardic circles, there's less eyes on you. And in online Bardic circles, I mean, they're real people, but they're also just a face behind a screen. And you can also choose not to look at anybody's reactions if you don't want to see their faces while you're performing. Um, there was one other thing that I forgot to mention, that was on my script that I didn't stick to. The other thing that I really had to convince myself of when I was trying to kind of combat the nerves in performing is that everybody lives in their own head. It's not that what you are saying or singing doesn't matter, but the chances are in about a year, no one's going to remember um, the one time that you didn't breathe right or hit the wrong note. Everybody lives in their own head, and they are not going to care anywhere near as much as you will ever care about that wrong note that you hit or the sentence you forgot to say when you were performing or presenting um, your arts and science project. And does anybody have anything else? If that's it, we'll move on to the hands-on portion. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to comment that the a person that is hearing you for the first time is more likely to remember if you fall completely apart and give up than
Yeah.
they will if you stick to it and fight your way through it. All right, so don't give up. Stick to it, fight your way through it if you have to. um, because and you're absolutely right. The Bardic community, especially I can speak mostly about our online Bardic community because that's where I've been participating for the last 4.5 years mostly. But our online community especially is very supportive, very open, and we try to encourage baby bards. We really do. But that's not unique to the online community. That's true throughout much of the SCA Bardic community overall.
Yeah, and Meridius has some very excellent online Bardic circles, I must say. Okay, if that was the last person, going once, going twice. Okay, excellent. All right, now we're gonna get to the fun stuff. This is the physical, actual breathing exercises and relaxation techniques part of the class. One of the things that I have always found works for me a lot is to distract yourself with conversation. I will find a friend and we will talk, and I will try to talk about literally anything other than how nervous I am to present or perform. And that kind of helps me get my mind off of what is going on inside of my head about how nervous I am, or like how much I don't want people to look at me or think bad things about me inside of their head that I can't even hear. Um, the other thing is that, like, if you're somebody who gets restless when you're nervous, allow yourself the the freedom to be restless. If you need to wiggle, if you need to, I call it fluffing your aura. If you need if you need to fluff your aura, or like wiggle around, or like go take a walk and pace or whatever, allow yourself that freedom. It kind of helps you burn off a little bit of that nervous energy. In my experience, I've, really kind of brought myself up from here to here just by going and taking a walk real quick, and just making sure that I can get my mind off of whatever is going on inside my brain. Um, Feel free to stretch. Feel free to massage your, if you're, a lot of us carry like tension in our neck and shoulders when we are, when we're nervous about stuff, we'll carry that tension there. So feel free to just massage your neck and shoulders. And I've noticed that has kind of helped a lot. And yeah, I see Valeriano rolling their head. And yeah, that helps a lot too. There's a few pressure points that people use for nerves and nausea and stuff like that. One of them that I've seen is right here in between your eyes. If you feel compelled to participate, go ahead and rub little circles very gently in between your eyes. Now, whether or not these pressure points actually work, or they work because they're distracting you from your nerves, remains to be seen. But at least it feels good, right? The other One of the other pressure points that I've seen people use is if you look at your wrist, and on the pinky side of your wrist, grab a hold of that knuckle right there and kind of roll that knuckle around in your fingers. Find that like pocket where you can kind of, there's another one on the wrist that I use a lot actually because it's a nausea point. I get really motion sick. If you look at your wrist and take 3 fingers from the bottom of your palm, there are 2 tendons right there in your forearm, and right underneath those 3 fingers is a spot where those 2 tendons meet. I can't properly touch it with my hand facing me, so you would have to turn your hand towards your face, but keep your thumb on that point that you marked. Turn your hands towards your face and kind of press into the tendons in between there. So if you're somebody who gets physically nauseous before you perform, this is a nausea treatment pressure point as well. So that helps settle your stomach a little bit. It's worked for me, mostly like getting car sick and seasick and stuff like that. But if I'm just nauseous in general, it's really, really good way to touch them. Uh, the other thing, I haven't seen this anywhere. It just feels good to me, right between the thumb and the forefinger, that little pocket in your hand right there. I'll massage that. I'll massage like my thumb muscle, and that will help, work out some of the knots. Um, Valeriano said ginger and peppermint is also anti-nausea. It is, and that's excellent if you have ginger and peppermint with you. If you don't, it may be difficult to procure. Uh, but if you are anticipating being nauseous, I can see the benefit in keeping like ginger candies or peppermint or like tea with you. Because if you are someone who gets nauseous before you perform, you probably know. And then let's see. Oh, the other one I marked was right here at the earlobe. I'll massage my earlobe. It's a weird thing, but I don't know. It feels good, and it kind of, again, whether or not these pressure points actually work or they work just because they're distracting you from what you're doing, remains to be seen. But it's always worked for me to just sit there and play with my earlobe. Okay. So we've done pressure points. Oh, keep the skeeters away with peppermint. Okay, I see you. All right, so we've done all the pressure points. We've done kind of distracting yourself with movement and talking and everything. We're gonna work on a few breathing exercises. I'm gonna leave you with some stuff that you can take with you. I think probably a lot of people are already familiar with the yoga breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just to get us into that space, we're gonna do just on your own. I'm gonna give you a few minutes to get your breath centered. Make sure you're focusing on your breath in through the nose, out through the mouth a couple times, and then here in about a minute, we'll get back into actual breathing exercises. Okay. Everybody had a chance to breathe? Okay. Excellent. All right. So the first breathing exercise that I'm going to give you guys is called box breathing. So basically, box breathing is in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. So we're going to do that a couple of times all together. The way I'm going to count this, you don't have to do it right now, but the way I'm going to count this is in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Make sense? All right, we're gonna do that a couple of times just to get everybody kind of comfortable with that form of breathing. So everybody ready? Okay. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. One more time. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Okay, everybody take a break. Take a second to breathe normally. This is a relaxation technique, not your new standard for breathing. It will get very, very annoying very quickly. Especially while you are presenting, don't try to do this. It's too much to focus on. You're already worried about what you're presenting. Don't try to figure out what you're doing with your breathing. This is something that you can use before and after to combat the pre and post presentation nerves. We're gonna do it one more time and really focus on like filling your lungs with air in that 4 counts and holding it, and emptying your lungs of air in that 4 counts and holding it. Basically, the point of this is to teach you, everybody knows where their diaphragm is, right? Kind of teach you how to fill your lungs and diaphragm into capacity and holding that, and then how to empty that. And when we're holding our breath after we've already emptying our lungs, after we've already emptied our lungs, we're kind of getting ourselves used to, if I run out of air, I actually have a little bit left, so that if I need to get out the last of my sentence, it's not a big deal that I'm out of air. I do have a little bit left that I can function off of. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're gonna do it one more time. Really focus on filling your whole lungs and diaphragm with air in those 4 counts, holding it, and then emptying your lungs and diaphragm on those 4 counts and holding it. Everybody ready? Okay. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. One more time. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Good. Everybody take a second. Breathe normally. How do we feel? Are we good? I'm gonna take a quick drink of water, and then while we're taking uh, this quick break, I will explain the next thing, and then okay. Christia, did I answer your question with that second?
It's kind of it's relaxing, but I don't understand why.
Part of it is that it is relaxing. And like I said earlier, part of it's also like filling your lungs to and your diaphragm to capacity in a short amount of time, in a relaxed way. We're going to do another one that's like that, where it's like, I need to get a lot of breath, a lot of quality breath in a relaxed manner. And then on the breath out, like I said, we're emptying our lungs of all of our air and holding that for 4 seconds or for 4 counts, because it's really kind of going to help teach your body that, like, if I am not at the end of my sentence and I'm already out of air, I have a little bit more that I can push through. It's not like the end of the world and I'm going to pass out if I run out of air at the end of my sentence. So helping kind of prepare you for that experience I know that I've had, where I'm on the end of a note and it's not time to finish that note yet and I don't have any air left. I actually do have a little bit more that I can use. Does that kind of
Yeah, it does. My lung capacity is reduced to begin with, so it's always something that I have issues with.
okay? All right, we're gonna do another one here. This one doesn't have a special fancy name. This is just something that I do. Uh, This one will be in for 4 counts, out for 4 counts, in for 4 counts, out for 6 counts, in for 4 counts, out for 8 counts. So that is again on the breath in, helping us take in as much, as large of an amount of quality air as we can, and then emptying our lungs of all of that air. But it's teaching us that on a short breath, you can control how much air you let out. And especially in bardic performances, the longer you work on this, and like you guys don't have to go straight to going like in for 4 counts and out for 32. That's not what we're doing here. But the more you practice that, and the more comfortable you get with it, you will find that you need a lot less air than you think you do. And that these breathing exercises are kind of helping improve that lung capacity. Again, we're not going up to 32 counts or anything like that. Just some quick tools that we can use in the future if you're trying to get better at like your lung capacity or your bardic lung capacity. These are good breathing exercises to use. And then once you're comfortable with them, you can also add singing a note after your breath. And then you can figure out, okay, like how much air do I actually need to push out this note? Because when you are nervous and you are singing, you use a lot more air than you actually need. So the next one that we're going to do is that in for 4, out for 4, and then stacking our out breaths from there. Mindfully, and then try not to panic to push all your air out just so that you can breathe again. The whole point is kind of working to get your mind over like, oh, I need to like, so I can breathe in again. So as long as everybody's ready, we're going to go ahead and give that one a try. I think we'll probably only do this once unless people want to do it a second time. But I'm going to count us up to a count of 8. And again, this is something that comes with some practice and some work. So if you really are genuinely out of air, don't worry. This is just your friend Inez giving you some stuff to take home with you. All right, so the way I'm gonna count this is in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna give you a second to rest, and then we're gonna go in to, and then, yeah, so a little bit of rest. All right, so everybody ready? Good. Okay. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Chill. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Take a second, breathe normally. When I'm doing this by myself, if I want another go round, I'll actually go as high of a number as I feel like, and then ladder it down. So if I go up to 16, then we're going back down, out 14, out 12, out 10, out 8, out 6. So, does anybody have any questions about that? Good. Good. Okay, great. All right. The next one we're going to do, I'm going to give everybody a chance to breathe normally and explain what we're doing with this one. So this is going to be an in for 4, out for 4, in for 6, out for 6, in for 8, out for 8. So that helps you slow down your breath in. And this is more of a relaxation thing, but it can also be a lung capacity thing, kind of figuring out how, I don't know how to phrase this, fill your lungs up and your diaphragm up with air in a relaxed manner. Where am I going with this? Oh, if you're already feel like you're full of air, you can give a little bit more. Don't pop your lung, but you might have just that little bit of extra room that you can get. So we're only going to go up to a count of 8. And the way I will count this is in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with a little bit of a rest in between. Everybody ready? Okay. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. I thought of the word I was thinking of. Control. Controlling your breath in. It's such an easy word to remember. I finally got it. Controlling your breath in. So you will sometimes have a long time to breathe. So you don't have to gulp in a bunch of air. The second that you get a chance, it kind of helps you control that breath in, that you can kind of take your time in filling your lungs up. I have one more, and this one I find to be quite a bit of a challenge as well. I have noticed a lot of people, if they're nervous, especially in bardic performances, especially singing, they will get their notes out, and then the second that they have a chance to breathe, and they'll try to get, I see you pointing at yourself. They'll try to get like their lungs filled with air as fast as possible. However, they're breathing like up here with the top of their lungs. When you do that big gulp of air, you're breathing with the top of your lungs, and it's not always the most quality air to get a good long whole sound. So you kind of want to, relax into that. You might not have a bunch of time to breathe, but practicing on getting a ton of breath in a very short amount of time, practicing on filling that diaphragm up first in a short amount of time, can really help. So that's why sometimes I'll do the same kind of breathing exercise that we did earlier, where we were in for 4, out for 4, in for 4, out for 6. I'll do it in a 2 count. So to prepare for this, like, relax your shoulders, relax your chest, kind of give yourself a second to focus on breathing in through your nose primarily, and focus on when you breathe in through your nose, filling your diaphragm as you breathe in. Is that work? So yeah, do that a couple times and get used to that, because what we're going to do is we're going to go in for 2, and we want to get as much quality air in as possible in that short little 2 count, and then we're going to hold it for a heck of a lot longer than a 2 count. Um, So again, yeah, this is stuff that takes a little bit of practice, but just quick, easy ways. And this will help also improve that capacity, especially in bardic performances where you have to hold a really long note and you might not always have enough as much time as you'd like to breathe. So the way we'll count this is we're going to go in for 2 and out for 4. And then I'll give you a second. And then we'll go in for 2, out for 6. We're going to go up to an 8 count today. Everybody ready? Okay. All right. So in 2, out, 2, 3, 4. In 2, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 2, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Great. Everybody get your breath back. Everything's good. Does anybody have any questions about that one? Yes.
So how do you get your breath to come out evenly? Mine seems to like come out a little bit at the time. And then
That's
at the end, I'm like,
that's part, yeah, so that's part of the practice part of it. That's part of the control part of it. So if you work on these little exercises as you have time or as you feel like you're ready to, you will get better at slowly controlling the breath that comes out. It's just one of those things that comes with doing these breathing exercises a lot. Davik, I see you. I actually have somebody in the house that's watching that I think has a question. Christia, does that kind of answer your, okay, so yeah, it does come with a little bit of practice. Mr. Nichols, what do you got? Okay, so what Mr. Nichols asked me was if on those breathe-ins we were going through our nose. I try to go through my nose on those 2 counts, because especially when you are working on a performance, people might be able to tell if you're taking in a big deep breath through your nose. People can really, really tell if you're taking a big deep breath in through your mouth. So the nose is where I try to go, and that's kind of, I try to focus on doing that through my nose. Okay, great. Yes, Davik, what do you have?
One thing that you haven't really talked about, but or at least you haven't since I got my connection straightened out. Because the first half of the class I missed most of because my phone was screwing up. Anyways,
Yeah, I saw that.
but what I really
Sorry.
need was this section anyway, because I'm a trained singer. But anyway, what's one thing that really helps with the breathing? You hear singing teachers or choir directors talk about sitting up straight and getting good posture.
Mm.
But that's not just for singing, that's for breathing. That's the whole purpose of the good posture is for your breathing, and then it's the breathing that will help you sing properly. So if you can tell, my back is way off the back of this couch, and so you don't need to be kick back. You need to be up for these exercises to really do any good, because that's the way you need to be. It's like standing from the waist up, all right, because that's the posture that we need when we're singing, whether we're standing fully or sitting like we're standing from the waist up. That helps get all the stuff that needs to be out of the way, um, and allows the the solar plexus and the diaphragm and the rib cage and everything to align in such a way that you can get the maximum amount of air in. And that's true even for those of us who are lung compromised. Um, I've, I like Christy and I both lung compromised for one reason or another. I've got asthma plus post-COVID syndrome. So, um, I've got a lot more compromised than I definitely wished. But then again, I'm also a trained singer, so I've figured out how to overcome that to some degree. But I still I'm still frustrated with not being able to sing phrases as long as I used to.
I appreciate that addition. And I will say also, when we were talking earlier about making our actual presentation and performance better, your posture can affect your confidence a lot. And that's another thing that, like, as you were talking, I was like, oh yeah, that would um keep stand up straight. It affects your confidence a lot, and that can really help you not be so freaked out. I would also go as far to argue and say, like, if you are like in bed at night and you want to work on these breathing exercises, great. It is better to work on them lying flat than it is to work on them hunched over. So if you're in a area where you cannot sit up straight, like maybe you're in bed and you want to work on them or something, it's better to do it lying flat than it is to, like, if you're sitting on the floor hunched over. So that was the last one that I actually had. So I don't really have a conclusion. We're kind of done. But I am willing to answer questions or take any, if anybody else has any like breathing exercises or relaxation techniques that they found have worked for them, please add them. That's what this class is about, and it would be helpful if anybody's got something that works for them that they'd like to share with the class. Yes, Valeriana?
Oh, the most nerve-wracking thing I've done in my life besides Kingdom A and S, no shade on Kingdom A and S, but job interviews, I've been suggested a lot of the tips mentioned earlier on, such as a better posture, has been suggested to do the box breathing or the Superman pose because you get better circulation and you feel more self-confident. And also, what's worked for me is like kind of mindfulness activities before I do job interviews, which is also no way presenting yourself to the world. Just like imagine things going right, like use YouTube videos or something. It's worked for me when I've done job interviews at least. So, about mindfulness videos of things going correctly
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
It's good. It's worth at least that much, probably more. Good deal. All right. Yes, Christian. Sorry if you've raised your hand and I can only see the people who are in the front or in the
yeah.
thing.
It's really interesting to me because so I also play the harp, so I'm in a harp group that meets regularly too. And the harpists have the worst performance anxiety. I mean, most of us are here for Bardic and do at least some, and have and these people, their performance anxiety is so high, and I used to be that used to be me. And like you were saying in the beginning, the exposure therapy is really what has seriously helped me get over it. I was really worried when I did that in-person Bardic for the first time back in Memorial Day weekend, how bad it would be. And I didn't do a harp thing. There was no way I was lugging my harp around in the dark. So I did a singing thing, and I only started the singing thing back like 2 years ago when I was missing out on all the Halloween stuff everybody was doing, and I'm like, don't have any Halloween socks for my heart. But I find it really fascinating, and I've done some um, performance anxiety on my heart groups as well. They're not giving us the breathing exercises so much, but they've, mentioned them, as something to do to reduce performance anxiety. But honestly, I think, exposure therapy is the best.
It works for some people. It really does. And it may be the only thing that works for some people. And that's another thing that, like, depending on what kind of person you are, some of the things that I say aren't going to work for you, and that's okay. Figure out what works for you. This class is mostly about like what I have found over the years that has worked for me that I thought might be able to help some people. But if it doesn't work for you, do your own thing, girl. I'm not here to stop you.
I really like the box breathing and the different counts for the in and out, because that's not something
Yeah.
I've done before. The in
Well,
and out at different paces was really
and
cool.
even if it does nothing else, it at least helps you control. So even if you don't feel like I fail to see how, but if you don't feel like it's helping you with your lung capacity, it will still at least help you with your control. Um, kind of like figuring out, how is my body going to act when I do this big breath in, long breath out, or this long breath in, long breath out. Like how am I going to react, and how is that going to work for me? Oh. I think if nobody has any other questions, I will go ahead and say that this class is officially over. I hope that everybody had a great time. I hope everyone learned at least one thing that they can take back with them. And, you know, have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.